Yeah, that sounds like a dog, right?
Yeah. Oh, doesn't sound happy.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I thought it was like a hyena or something.
It sounded weird. I don't know if we got that one.
They claim that our eyes will just see created a slightly different from what they are. We talk, we see things are not normal.
Welcome to the Strange Familiars podcast. We cover a range of topics from the paranormal, to cryptids, to the occult, to mythology and folklore. Some of our shows will be presented over multiple episodes, while others will be one-shot features. We do our best to put out new shows every other week. I'm Anthony Hoskin.
And I'm Timothy Renner. Please make sure to like and subscribe to us wherever you are listening, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, or via any other service. And make sure to share us around on social media. If you could add a review on iTunes, it really helps get the podcast in front of more people. And that's what we're trying to do, get more ears on us.
If you have an idea for any strange stories you would like us to cover, or if you have experienced anything strange yourself, please contact us by email, strangefamiliarspodcast@gmail.com, or find us on Facebook, facebook.com/strangefamiliars.
And if you like what we're doing, please consider becoming a patron. That's patreon.com/strangefamiliars. We've got lots of different subscriber levels, rewards like pins and vinyl stickers, t-shirts, and lots of stuff there. But even at just $3 a month, you can get bonus content. We do bonus episodes and just some extra content here and there whenever we can for our patrons. The more patrons we have, the more episodes we can do, both the patron-only episodes and the regular bi-weekly episodes.
Once again, that's patreon.com/strangefamiliars. Every little bit helps, and again, we sincerely thank the patrons who have already signed up.
So welcome to episode 7. You can probably hear in Anthony's voice that he's a little rough tonight. He had some dental work this week.
Yeah, some dental work that went awry. So for the second podcast, my voice is a little messed up.
And it's not the entire reason why we were late, but that among other reasons, we just kind of piled on to make us a little late this week. Hopefully we'll get back on that every other week schedule here.
And I apologize.
While we're apologizing, I want to apologize to any of our listeners who sent in story ideas. A lot of the emails, I try to get to them right away, but it's hard to follow up. We have a lot of projects going on. We want your ideas. We want to follow up on your ideas. Just be patient with us. We'd love to hear about it. Even if you've had a brief encounter, we'd love to hear about it. We'd want to do a few shows a year that are just filled with encounters of our listeners, even if they're real short ones. I think it'd be really neat to do that. So even if you have a really brief encounter, we'd love to hear about it. And again, that's strangefamiliarspodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a line. We definitely want to hear it.
How about a little word about your new book?
It's called Bigfoot in Pennsylvania, A History of Wild Men, Gorillas, and Other Hairy Monsters in the Keystone State. It's available now on Amazon, or you can get it direct from us. strangefamiliarspodcast@gmail.com for more information. I can do dedications, sightings, even little Bigfoot sketches if you want. I compiled and illustrated the book. The book collects wild man reports. Basically, before 1950 or so, there wasn't even the term Bigfoot. So to find these old reports, you don't look up Bigfoot, you don't look up Sasquatch. What they called them in the 1800s was wild men, and on into the early 1900s. Around 1900, people become familiar with the mountain gorilla, either by seeing it in zoos or just by seeing pictures of it in the paper and stuff. Right around 1900, the reports switch. They stop calling them wild men and start calling them gorillas. I collected a lot of these stories, a lot of really neat ones about abductions and attacks on people and so forth. So that's all in the book. Again, you can find it on Amazon or direct from me. It's Bigfoot in Pennsylvania, A History of Wild Men, Gorillas, and Other Hairy Monsters in the Keystone State. You'll probably hear me around on other podcasts talking about it, and maybe we'll do something more extensive on Strange Familiars in a bit with it.
Pick it up. Are we going to go over our appearances?
Yeah, I think we should, because I did get contacted by a few people when we went to Butler who were like, hey, I didn't know you were going to be there. I would have come out. So we are starting to fill our appearance schedule for the summer and fall. Well, the spring, summer, and fall, really. May 20th and 21st, we're going to be at Harrisburg Comic Con. That's in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, at the Harrisburg Mall East, 3501 Paxton Street, Harrisburg. It's in the former Boskov building. I believe that's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Anthony and I will both be there on Saturday. It might just be me on Sunday. I'm not sure yet. But we'll be signing copies of both of the books. We'll have art and photo prints, podcast swag. We'll have T-shirts and stickers and stuff, and more.
And then May 28th, you'll be at the Lancaster Punk Rock Flea Market in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Correct? That will be the Lancaster Host Resort, 2300 Lincoln Highway East, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That'll be from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Yeah,
that's Saturday and Sunday, but we're only going to be there Sunday. And we're sharing a table with Allison. She sells antique photographs, lots of stuff. If you like the Barnum's Cannibals episode, she sells lots of ephemera and stuff that's kind of related to the old-timey photos and circus stuff and sideshows and stuff. We'll also have some records, and I sell some musical instruments that we'll have there, but we'll have the book and the art and the podcast stuff there too.
And then June 23rd and 24th, there's the Gettysburg Paracon in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The 1863 Inn of Gettysburg, 516 Baltimore Street. That will be from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Again, selling and signing copies of the book, art and photo prints, stuff from the podcast, and more.
Yeah, come out and say hello. We'd love to see you. The Paranormal Fests are a lot of fun for us. We like talking to people. And don't have anything else filled in for much of the summer yet. Maybe we'll go to Mothman Fest. We haven't quite decided yet.
We wanted to go last year, and we skipped out, but wish we did.
There's another fest the same weekend. If we don't go to Mothman Fest, we might go to, there's one in Allentown, but we'll keep everybody informed. But October 14th, it's getting way out there, but that's the Albatwitch Festival in Columbia, Pennsylvania, which I am part of. I've been part of since, Stone Breath has played there since the beginning, and last year I spoke at Albatwitch Fest, and Stone Breath played there. This year we'll be playing again and be giving a talk based on the new book, and we'll have the both books and the podcast stuff there as well. Wherever we are, look for the banner. We have a Strange Familiars banner that we put up on the table. Makes it easy to find us.
It's lovely.
Again, Albatwitch Festival it's really Albatwitch Day. It's one day. It's a Saturday in October 14th. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of a family day. We try to base it off of Mothman Festival. So we close down a street. We're going to have other speakers there, including Ron Murphy and Colin Schneider, the Crypto Kid.
I love him, man. I love that guy.
He's a good guy. There's going to be 2 other bands playing, Doomsday 13 and Kill the Dead, a zombie beauty contest, trolley tours to Chickies Rock, food and art vendors, face painting for kids, apple pie contest. It's a really nice day. You can bring the family, or if you're interested in paranormal stuff, come out. There's speakers on that. A lot of vendors selling paranormal stuff. It's a really cool day. For the first time ever this year, we're showing a movie in the park after the festival, at the park in Columbia, which will be Harry and the Hendersons. They have a big outdoor screen, so they're showing Harry and the Hendersons, and then there's a Halloween party for adults at night.
Come on out. That sounds like a blast, man. Hopefully it'll be a good time.
It's always fun. It's just a great time. I love being a part of it. Columbia's a neat little town. You were born there.
So I'm sure they regret that.
And we are looking to fill in other dates, so we'll keep everybody posted. We won't do a big, long talk like this every time, but we'll just remind people here and there. On to episode 7, which is about Seven Valleys.
Nice.
Seven Valleys is a little town in York County, Pennsylvania. And we really could have made this a part of the first cycle of episodes, which would have made it even longer, though.
Yeah, because the Cador's Creek also flows through Seven Valleys, and we mentioned the Cador's Creek all through the first 3 episodes.
Exactly. And this is just another place where strange things happen that the Cador's runs through as well. So can we blame it on the Cador's? We don't know.
Sure we can.
Seven Valleys was sort of founded when German and Swiss German immigrants settled there in the early 1700s. They named it Das Siebental, which would be German, I believe, for Seven Valleys.
I'm glad you had to do that part.
I should have had Sarada do it. She's so good at the other languages.
Yes, she is.
Every time I throw something at her with like German or some other language, she's like, and I always say, if you don't want to do the German part, that's fine. And she's every time, no, I'll do it. Okay. Like,
thank you, Sarada.
Yeah, she's awesome with that. And it remained mainly German-speaking through the 1800s until the railroad came through, which, of course, brings the outside world. Again, another thing that we go back to, another one of these drums we beat over and over again is iron.
Iron brings the strange things.
There was a big industry for iron mining in Seven Valleys. A park we'd like to go to, Robb Park. It's just filled with iron mines there. Well, old iron mines.
Hematite, or is that how it's...
Hematite.
Hematite,
I think that's a tomato.
Yeah, I'm going with hematite.
Yeah, they would mine iron and hematite there. Now it's a really cool little park, and they've closed off a lot of the mines. They fenced them off for bats.
Yes, we saw that. I had got some wonderful photos of that and some videos of it. They have the bat fence down there. That is cool that the county gave that to the people. There's a cave that has this cool these iron bars across that has a little bat, what would you call it? A silhouette. A badge or a silhouette, at the top of it. I thought that was really cool. I believe it said there's 4 different species of bats that winter there.
Yeah. Yep. 4 different species of bats. It's just a neat little park. It was at one time, after it was an iron mine, it was a garbage dump too. And we'll get to that a little bit later. That'll come up again. An interesting thing that I found mention of was that the church services were continued in German even longer after most of the population spoke German there. A lot of the people said that God couldn't hear scripture or prayers in English, that it was German was the proper language to deliver the scripture in.
That is interesting.
Which also works into powwow doctors, because many of the local powwow doctors insisted that their charms and spells in the powwow books only worked in German. If you used an English translation, it wouldn't work. Speaking of, with the Germans came their folk magic. And there's a long list of powwow doctors, witches, and sorcerers, as they called them. And I don't know how they differentiated one from another, or if they did.
Was it just a preference, like a personal preference, like I prefer to be a sorcerer, or I'm a witch? Or
yeah, I don't know. Or if someone didn't like you, you're a witch. If they liked you, you're a powwow doctor.
Yeah, we discussed this kind of briefly with the Raymeyer situation.
Right.
So
yeah. Yeah, and I think he's a great example of it. I mean, so many people call him a witch.
A witch, yeah.
And
he would have been a powwow doctor.
He was a powwow doctor, yeah. So, but there's a lot of them. There's a long list of them. And when we do the powwow episode, maybe we'll get into specific names who lived in or right around Seven Valleys. They've been given in various histories of the area. But one of these was named James Ruby.
Old Man Ruby. In 1782, a baby was born in Windsor Township, York County, Pennsylvania. His name was James Ruby. He would live for 77 years, but James Ruby was seen in the York County hills for a century more after he died. James Ruby married a woman named Elizabeth and lived with her for a time in Carroll County, Maryland, before moving back to York County and settling on a farm in Seven Valleys. They had 8 children. Their eldest son, John, moved to Ohio, where he was murdered by his eldest son. But it is not John Ruby's story we are telling today. James Ruby was known as a man who could, as the local sayings go, do more than eat butterbread, which is to say he was possessed of strange powers. He was perhaps a powwow doctor or brocher. Though he was never named as such, the feats he performed were those which brochers were also called upon to achieve. James Ruby could stop the flow of blood. He did so by laying hands on the sick or injured and reciting aloud scripture from the book of Ezekiel. And when I passed by thee, and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live. Yea, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live. It was debated by many if these powers were bestowed upon James by God or Satan, but it seems in almost every case he used his gift to the benefit of his family and neighbors. Only one time was James known to have used his gift for ill. He was urged by a vengeful man to stop the flow of blood from another man's slaughtered steer. James did so, and the meat became spoiled. Let's not let spoiled meat be James Ruby's legacy, however. He was called upon by his neighbors again and again and answered their pleas to help the victims of various accidents. When called upon, he rode his white mare to wherever he was needed, stopping the blood and healing the injured. It is said James Ruby practiced his strange art until his death in 1859. His white horse died the same day as James. Death, it seems, was not the end for James Ruby, nor his white mare. His tombstone stands today in Ziegler's Church Cemetery in Seven Valleys, but James Ruby was not at rest. For almost 100 years, James Ruby's ghost and that of his white horse could be seen traveling between his farm and that same graveyard each evening at dusk. Many who saw the apparition said that the spectral rider had no head, but those who knew James Ruby in life said he rode his horse with his chin tucked low and his collar pulled high, so he appeared as a headless rider. In 1862, Mrs. Jacob Deptford lay on her deathbed. A nurse who was attending her looked out the window and saw a headless man riding a white horse. She mentioned this to Mrs. Deptford, who replied, "Oh, that's old man Ruby. He rides there every evening." Susan Hoff lived on her parents' farm near Ziegler's Church on Panther Hill. One day she was picking blueberries in the woods, quite near to the place where some years before General Jeb Stuart's cavalrymen lay drunk on whiskey stolen from Susan's father, when she looked up to see a headless man upon a white horse. Dropping her basket of berries, Susan ran home screaming, "Mom, ich hab de Old Man Ruby gesehen." Mom, I just saw Old Man Ruby. Susan Hoff died at the age of 96 and swore to her last days that she saw Old Man Ruby on his phantom white horse. Old James Ruby was seen by generations of people in Seven Valleys, riding his white horse to the cemetery where his body was interred. His wandering ghost was seen until the 1950s, when the sighting seemed to stop, leaving us to wonder if Old Man Ruby found whatever he was looking for each night on his ghostly ramble, or if indeed we will see him again.
Perhaps the oldest story we heard from Seven Valleys, the oldest ghost story, was that of Old Man Ruby. We found other references to spooklights and such dating back almost as long as that story, but that was kind of the earliest definitive story we came across.
Presumably they were happening around the same time.
You would think.
Yeah, but we couldn't get, finding references to them. When we talk about spooklights, it seems to be different than UFOs, and that's sort of a local term. They call them spooklights.
But they vary, though. They vary in different forms.
Yeah, yep. Like from fireballs, falling from the sky. People told us about green lights that they'd see in the sky that would shoot down into the fields.
Yeah, you hear about the green lights so often in that area.
A lot of people, that we talked to several people, separate people, who would tell us about them. And then people who've lived there for a long time are very matter-of-fact about them. Just like, oh, that happens here.
It's almost bizarre to encounter that sort of thing. Just like, oh, yeah, it's a normal occurrence.
And probably related, but we're not sure, is the glowing fields, which, again, I saw glowing fields, not in Seven Valleys, but not far away either, coming out of Ray Myers Hollow. I talked about it in episode 1.
And in the book, I believe.
Yeah, yep. Sure, yeah. And a very nice woman who lives in Seven Valleys has called me, and she's kind of this collector of local weird stories and sort of a local historian. Very nice woman. And she'll call me every now and then and just tell me neat, strange stories, and she'll go over ghost stories and this and that. And she's told me several about Seven Valleys. She lives right in Seven Valleys. And she's told me a lot of the stories that we'll talk about here. And she's documented them from different sources. Some of them are people she knows specifically, and some of them are articles she's collected from different newspapers over the years and so forth. But she told me a story about her father who came upon these glowing golden fields one night in 1982, September of 1982.
Yeah, the following day was what was interesting to me about this, and you can describe that.
Yeah, the following day, black, unmarked military-style helicopters, presumably military, but she said they were unmarked, were flying around, and I think she asked her neighbor, and her neighbor said, yeah, they landed in that field, because I believe her neighbor was with her father when they saw him. So something was going on there. And as these things go,
there was a
Bigfoot sighting.
Yes.
1982, September, same time as the lights.
And this was also when I was born, September of 82, so it may have been me coming into this world.
There you go. Instead of a stork,
I was brought by a Bigfoot or a UFO.
A Bigfoot.
Very possible.
On Green Valley Road, which is in Seven Valleys, across from what is now Robb Park, which we were talking about with the iron mines and the bat caves, but it was then a garbage dump. Actually, I think it had closed down. It was a garbage dump in the 70s. By this time, it closed down, but it was a garbage dump. A husband and a wife were returning from a shopping trip in York, and they saw a 10-foot-tall bipedal creature cross the road in front of their car, covered in light brown hair, 10 feet tall.
My daddy was big.
So once again, we have strange lights around the time of a Bigfoot sighting. But they're not related, I'm sure.
Yeah, again and again, but they're not related.
Yeah, you can't say they're related, except I'm kind of saying they're related, at least in Pennsylvania. I mean, they certainly happen in the same place at the same time.
Often they have in the past. How many years has it been where we had the incidents in the 70s? Was it with the Peach Bottom and the UFOs? But we'll talk about that more at some other point.
Yeah, and not just in our area. I mean, Stan Gordon's documented tons of them out his way.
Yeah, but let's go other Bigfoot sightings in Seven Valleys.
Yes, I love talking about this.
Let's talk about Bigfoot.
Tracks were found by hunters, which, when followed, went to the middle of a field and stopped. Now, we've heard this before, too.
Some would say they backtracked. I would say that that's not the case, but that's just my theory.
I would say I have to agree with you, because that's how you mess up a track. You backtrack in it. I can't see a Bigfoot walk into the middle of the field and then tiptoeing out. So I don't want to mess up my tracks.
I do want to see a cartoon of that. However.
In the 1970s, a chicken house was raided. I believe a creature was seen. This was a word of mouth story that was related to me. I believe they were neighbors of Allison's that had told her parents, and kind of came to me through that, and they said they had seen a creature and it had raided a chicken house, which isn't uncommon either. You get a lot of chicken house raiding with these creatures. A lot of times they'll leave the heads and take the bodies and stuff. And another one, raccoon hunters were out hunting at night. They didn't see a creature, but coonhounds are mean. Coonhounds are they're pretty tough. Raccoons aren't easy prey. So coonhounds aren't wimps.
Yeah, for sure.
So these hounds came running back at speed to them, refused to hunt anymore. And then the hunters heard these like horrifying loud screams. They turned their headlamps on and the scream stopped. So they never saw a creature, but again, we had these screams, the dogs refusing to hunt, this kind of thing. It certainly fits the profile of the other Bigfoot cases.
Indeed. And then we have other Seven Valley strangeness. So this is going back to the Cadores again. Our friend Becky told a story of a ghost of a slave woman. People would see standing right beside the Cadores.
Yeah, right there. Like they would see this slave woman. She knows people who've seen it. She's the one who told me about it. I don't think that's been any of the ghost story books. She didn't have a whole lot of details other than people would see this slave woman, I think dressed in sort of period clothes, sitting right next to the Cadores.
And it was another kind of matter-of-fact thing, right? Like, it's like the people down there, we
oh,
saw.
Yeah.
So Seven Valley, so mad props, as they could say, or used to say to those people. They keep their stuff, they're fine with it. They're just like, come on in.
It's just,
Seven Valleys welcomes you.
This is the weirdness.
Yeah.
This is where we live. Lynn told me another story, which this is, I think, maybe the creepiest story of all.
It's strange.
There's no creatures. This is no spooky lights. But she said a pig farmer there, said one day all of his pigs stood up on their hind legs at once and started to squeal in unison.
I can only imagine how terrible that would have been.
I've never seen a pig stand on their hind legs. I assume it's possible. I don't know. But it would be horrifying, right?
Yeah, it would.
There's a whole barnyard of pigs squealing at once.
It's so loud. I mean, there's a hog farm nearby where I go walking with my dog, and they're usually squealing, but not standing on their hind legs, and they're not squealing all at once. And it is loud and it's slightly disturbing. So to think of all the pigs squealing at once while standing on their hind legs is simply just disturbing.
Yeah, that would be quite a horrifying thing to see. So as we're wont to do,
we went to Seven Valleys.
Yes, and we did some recording last week.
We're just standing out here. We're about to get snatched up.
Yeah, that sounds like a dog, right?
Yeah. Oh, doesn't sound happy.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I got mace in one hand and a knife in another.
Let's chill here for a minute.
Maybe put down my window. I can't hear me.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I thought it was like a hyena or something.
It sounded weird. I don't know if we got that on. Let me make sure we're still recording. You hear it?
It sounds like it's whimpering somewhere close. I'm not being paranoid. I'm positive that was coming at us.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it sounded like to me too. So I'm not sure how much of that audio is salvageable, what just happened there. We stepped out of the Jeep on a hill. It's Panther Hill, actually, and we're having a quick discussion about how it is probably so named because someone at one point saw a panther here. I'm sure things are named
for a reason.
Yeah. And we heard what sounded like
I was thinking of like a badger coming, like, wheezing towards us.
It's raspy, kind of panting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it seemed like it was headed right for us. It was.
We were standing before kind of a wide open field. There's some houses in the distance, and there's a tree line to the left. So it was coming straight through the field. We're still looking out because we're right by the field, so we should be able to see whatever it is. But it sounded like it was. I imagined an animal kind of lumbering towards us.
Yeah, that's the impression I got. It was enough to send both of us into the Jeep.
Yeah, well, at first I quickly, I don't think I pulled out my knife that quick ever, and then I pulled out pepper spray just in case we needed it.
I was about to ask if he heard that when I saw him pull his knife out.
Yep, I pulled it out quickly.
So now we're sitting with the window down, trying to get some more audio here.
Waiting for something to jump in and maul my face. It's a dog in the distance. I'm fairly certain that was it was either threatened or it was trying to threaten us, but we're probably both, because now it's completely silent, but it was very much noticeable.
Yeah, and the fact that we didn't have a discussion about it, we both kind of went into reaction mode.
That was weird, man. I didn't get the idea it was big.
No, it didn't seem particularly. I don't know.
But it didn't sound pleasant either.
No, and it was. We couldn't see it, so maybe like Old Man Ruby's ghost horse. Maybe it was a ghost coyote or something.
Oh, coyote! I didn't even think about that. It was a raspy. It sounded like it was kind of jogging at a mid pace.
Yeah.
We got out of there quick.
It's about midnight. We came back to Panther Hill, where we were run off by the ghost coyote. Or whatever it was. That was very strange.
I almost completely expect it to happen again, because if it was threatened the first time, it's certainly going to be threatened again. But we're prepared this time. Maybe.
There have been UFO sightings on this hill, reported on this hill, or above this hill. I think people were in this location. So Seven Valleys is definitely an odd place.
Plenty of rolling open field, I suppose. They're all skirted by houses. It's not like there's completely nothing. There's houses that get to see all these fields.
Yeah. It's farmland. It's not incredibly remote. It's rolling fields.
There's something right over here. You can see its eyes pop up and glow. It's about 20 yards. No, not even 20 yards. It's small though. It's nothing big. I keep seeing it's like something glowing, and then I realize it's a head turn. The stars up through that tree look amazing.
I know, this is a beautiful night.
We're just waiting for some lights.
I talked about it in, I guess, episode 1, but I did see the fields lit up coming out of Ray Myers Hollow one night.
You were driving.
I would like to see the green glow. That was more of a bluish white kind of glow. Like I said, it almost looked like a stadium. It's like.
But there was nothing there.
Nothing that I could see. And as I stated, the fellow that was with me was blind to it in a sense. I'm not sure if literally, but he certainly didn't seem terribly impressed.
Man, this is an absolutely beautiful spot to be at this time.
It really
You
is.
have a slight glow going off over there. You have this tree line.
Something's moving through the grass over here.
First time's got me all paranoid.
Yeah, it was. What we heard when we stopped here first was strange. That was, I mean, I don't know that it wasn't anything that was perfectly natural, but it seemed like it was coming right for us, and we both had the same impression without.
We bailed. Yeah, and I still remember distinctly what it was like. And I'm almost hoping it happens again, just because it was unique, and I definitely wouldn't have thought of what, I wasn't expecting it to happen. Sure. Actually, never mind, I don't want it to happen again. I take it back. It was cool, but I can just deal with it in my head. The replay. So where about are we in relation to the story of Old Man Rudy and his white horse?
Well, they said that he was riding on Ziegler's Church Road, so we're just right off of that. So, and the cemetery is right around the corner from us here.
I guess what you ride in life, you shall ride in death. And they died the same day.
Yeah,
he and his horse.
He and his horse. That's again going back to episode 1 when we were talking to Matt, and he was talking about like the ghost horse or whatever he encountered in Hex Hollow. That's what I was referencing when I said it wouldn't be the only ghost horse in York County.
I actually didn't even think about that.
So we stopped. Was that the first stop we made? I think it was.
Yeah, the very first stop we made.
On Panther Hill.
Yeah, was it Panther Hill Road?
It's Panther Hill Road, but I mean, we were on top of Panther Hill.
Yeah, we were on top. We just got out, and right away, almost right away, we had positioned ourselves to start talking beneath the beautiful starry sky. We had just started looking around, and
we couldn't have been out for more than 5 minutes at the most, right?
Well, I think it was a lot sooner than
Was
than
it
5
even
minutes.
sooner than that?
Yeah, we just had positioned ourselves. We had gotten out of the car, walked to where we were going to stand, started to get comfortable with where we were standing, and then we were caught by surprise by something.
Which you can hear on the tape, and we describe it. It was, when we're there, it's kind of this raspy breathing. We didn't see anything, and it sounded like it was relatively close.
I don't know why I said this or why I thought this, but and still what I think of when I think about the sound that I heard, to me I thought like, oh man, a badger's coming to get us or something. It sounded,
I think you said on the on-site, you said hyena once and badger at once.
It just sounded like something trotting, and it sounded to me like it was going left right, like you could hear it alternating, and it was not like it was racing at us, but it was definitely coming at us, not walking.
Right, yeah. It sounded like to me, that's exactly what it sounded like. It was sort of trotting.
Yeah, it was trotting,
yeah.
and I could hear its breathing, and it sounded like I could hear it going left, right, like I could hear its body movement. And we paused for a second, I think, and we both thought, I don't know what we thought, but then we thought we better get them.
Yeah, you could hear it on the tape that we played before. I took the section of tape. I say tape. It's a digital recording. I took the digital file.
We're old, and he's older than I am, so.
I took that section, and you can't hear it when the part that we already played. You can't hear it, but I increased the volume, and I'm going to play it 3 times. If you listen really closely, and you have to probably have headphones on, I'll play it 3 times in a row. You can hear a panting sound, and I'll go ahead and play that now. And there's a lot of noise in that clip. You can hear the Jeep pinging in the background. That's we've been driving around for a while. It's I guess the metal cooling. So that's the pinging sound you hear. It's the metal cooling or whatever that sound is. I then put noise reduction on it just to try to get some of the hiss out because I'd increased the volume so much. So I'm going to play it again 3 more times. This is the version with noise reduction. And oddly in this one, I believe you can hear the panting a little bit more, but it sounds like more than one. Now, I don't know if that's just a relic of the noise reduction or what, but to me, it sounds like more than one creature breathing. So I'll go ahead and play that again. We'll play that 3 times in a row because it's short and you can hear it. So as I'm listening to this, and as we're talking about this sort of panting that we couldn't see, I mentioned coyote at the time, like maybe
you did. Yeah.
This,
which would make more sense than my badger, being that we don't have badgers as far as I know here in Pennsylvania.
We have something like them. What are they called? I've seen one. They look like big skunks without stripes on them.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I've never seen anything.
Yeah,
like
I saw
that.
one time. I will not remember the name. Someone will probably tell us. But I started thinking about this, and I was thinking about the stories. I was going over my notes of stuff Lynn had told me. There are 2 stories that vaguely relate to this. I'm not sure if they directly relate, but it made me think of what we experienced there. The first had to do with dogs. A woman waking up to see dogs in her bedroom, she said. And Lynn kept telling me this for a long time. She kept telling her, I wake up at night and there's dogs in my bedroom. There's dogs in my bedroom.
She was telling Lynn this?
Yeah, she told Lynn this. Which, if you're waking up and you don't have dogs and there's dogs in your bedroom, that's odd enough. But later she told me they were watching some movie with Egyptian stuff. I think it was The Mummy or one of the Mummy sequels. I've seen them before, but a long time ago, you know?
Yeah.
But there was some kind of Anubis type creature, like the Egyptian god with the jackal head in the movie. And her neighbor said, "That's what I'm seeing. That's what's in my room when I wake up at night," which is creepy.
Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't The Rock from The Mummy. I believe he was in The Mummy. That would have been a lot more pleasant for her, probably.
Yeah.
But nope, it was some creepy-ass dog.
Some dog-headed man, which again, it calls to mind Dog Man. And there are weird stories that people have told. I've heard on other, podcasts and stuff where Dog Man witnesses will talk about waking up and having these creatures in their house, which, no. No.
Please no.
No. I like Bigfoot. He stays on the outside of the house and taps on the window very politely.
Yeah, it doesn't come breathing down your neck while you're trying to sleep.
Yes. No. Stay out. Just made me think, because we're hearing this odd panting sound, it made me think
coming
like,
at
like
us.
something like dog-like. But the other story they told Lynn, it was the same woman. And she said she was sitting on her porch. I think Lynn was with her this day. I'd have to look at my notes again. They heard something coming through the fields at them that was panning, and they described it as very big, though. Our impression of what we heard was that it was
not very big. It wasn't tiny.
It didn't sound huge. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It didn't. It didn't sound. People talk about Sasquatch coming through the woods, and it sounds like a bulldozer or something. It didn't.
Yeah,
sound,
we're not claiming that.
No,
like I said, badger size.
Yeah, it didn't sound. It didn't sound massive, but then again, maybe it was a shallow breather, a giant shallow breather. Who knows? Anyway, they were sitting on their porch, and they said they heard something coming through the fields towards them, and I believe there was a line of trees, so they couldn't see, but they were expecting it to just come through. They said it sounded like a freight train or something, just huge, running through, and they heard it coming, and it never arrived, which is kind of like what we experienced. Again, not something huge, but we jumped in the car because we didn't.
Fortunately, as far as we know, it never arrived.
Right. I mean, we hopped in the Jeep. We didn't see anything. Nothing came and jumped on the Jeep. Nothing came up to the window.
Yeah, I was looking out. I was on that side, and I had my window slightly down because I wanted to see if I could hear. And I was slightly terrified. I believe I say on the recording, I was terrified something was going to come up and jump in the open window.
Right. Yeah. Well,
fortunately, it did not, and I still have all of my face
so far. Yeah. Well, other than the teeth they had to take.
Yeah.
No. So again, maybe something similar to what she was talking. It just made me think of what we experienced.
Yeah, sure.
So something ran at her, something else ran at us, and they never appeared.
And thank you, Seven Valleys, for your strangeness. Strange Familiars is a production of Dark Holler Arts, LLC. Music, art, podcast, books, and more. darkhollerarts.com.
Intro and background music by Stone Breath, which is our band. You can find more at stonebreath.bandcamp.com. And as usual, our reader this episode was Sarada. Thank you, Sarada.
And thank you all for listening.
Time requires, dream about the coming fire.
Who can stop the blowing wind that tells us when the storm begins? Scream the prophet and the liar. Who can stop the coming
Stop the rising flood that turns the good earth to mud, that topples tower and high spire, and who can stop the coming fire?
Who can stop the blowing wind that tells us when the storm begins? Scream the prophet and the liar. Who can stop the coming fires?
must bear it in the night. Both shall hear it. We lie awake upon our pyres, and incoming fire.